Hi, it's Neil Thomas from NW Dream Homes for You and Best Choice Realty. And in this video, we're going to talk about finding a lender for a home mortgage. Today, we're at HomeStreet Bank with Arlie Seaton and the Seaton team. And let's get started. So Arlie, why should somebody use HomeStreet Bank?
Well, that's a great question. There are many great lenders out there in this community, but we like to think that we are the best. HomeStreet has consistently, even though we are not the biggest company in regards to the players out there, we're not a national bank like Wells Fargo or Bank of America or Chase, but if within our Washington, Oregon, and Idaho area, we're actually the #1 lender for mortgages across those three entities. Locally here in town, our office located in Olympia, we have some of the best lenders in this area in terms of experience and staff. And then obviously myself individually and my team, we think we provide the best options for people available out there.
Okay. So if somebody wants to apply for a loan from you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, there are several ways. Again, I have a team, myself, my wife Elisa, and we have another team member, her name is Barb Soiza. We try to make ourselves available to anybody, either on the weekends or at nights available. So there's many different ways to apply. You can obviously apply in person. We like to try to have that personal touch if possible, but we know everybody's schedule is not necessarily going to fit the things. Again, we may work at a bank, but we don't work bankers' hours. Our phones don't shut off at 5 o'clock, and on Saturdays and Sundays we can be available. A lot of people in this day and age of internet actually prefer to do online applications. We have a very, very streamlined process for an application on my website, which is www.theseaton, the Seaton spelled S-E-A-T-O-N, team.com. So it's theseatonteam.com. You can apply online there, and it instantly notifies me when an application is available. At that point, I just jump on my computer, pull things through, and usually can get somebody with an informal pre-approval within a half hour to an hour of getting an application on the system.
Great. So when somebody actually sits down with you, what can they expect from you as far as?
They can expect a full detailed analysis when they sit down with me. This is not going to be a 7-minute loan application. It's going to be a sitting down and going over everything. I always tell people plan on at least 30 to 45 minutes for a loan application because we're going to look at everything. We're going to look at your income. We're going to look at your assets. We're going to look at your credit report. We're going to look at what are the things that are the positives, that are the strengths for the mortgage side, and what are the things that are the negatives for your mortgage side. And those are the things that we're going to really work on to make sure that a borrower is going to fit into the best loan process. It might be a situation where somebody qualifies for one loan, but might be just marginally available to qualify for a little bit of a better loan. So my job will be to say, hey, here's your option right now, but if you do this and this and this, you can exponentially increase your capability to buy. And so that way people have choices. I always tell people we didn't create mortgages. HomeStreet is a Seattle-based bank, which means we are 100% local, but this isn't a loan derivative that we've created. So information is the best thing that we can provide to you as a borrower and to you as the agent so that you know that when a borrower is pre-approved, they're ready to buy.
What kind of documents should they bring with them?
Typically, you're going to look at a 2-year history of your income. So we're going to need either W-2s and tax returns for the last 2 years. We're going to need pay stubs that cover at least a 30-day period. So if you're paid weekly, we need 4 pay stubs. Bi-weekly, we need 3 pay stubs. Bi-monthly, 2, and monthly, 1. We're going to need to go back and look at 2 months worth of assets. So we're going to need all pages of your bank statements, even those insignificant blank pages that says page 7 of 7, even though there's nothing on it. We do require those. We're going to need any asset statements like 401ks, retirement accounts, Roths, 403b accounts, anything that you can provide to us. I always tell people you can't give me too much information. As well as be prepared to open up your financial history because we're going to look at your bank statements and we might see large cash deposits. We're going to want to know where those come from. So there's going to be questions that may be asked. So if you got an uncle that's giving you $1,500 a month because he thinks you're a great guy, just note that those things are going to come up on an application process for an explanation.
Okay, so let's say somebody's found a house, they made an offer now, and they got a deal. What's kind of the process from that point right there?
So basically we go through the pre-approval process. At that point we're going to kind of figure out where they sit and stand. But let's assume we have somebody that's got the pre-approval that they're looking for and the loan that they want. The next process after that is we're basically going to have them get in touch with the realtor, and we're going to set the expectations and parameters with you of what they're going to qualify for. Let's say a borrower qualifies for a loan amount or a sales price of $250,000. We typically tell people to stretch that a little bit, because you never know when that perfect castle is going to come in front of you. So you may look at houses at 260 or so. That's where your expertise will come in regards to, yes, this house has some room to negotiate on sales price. No, this house just came on the market yesterday. You can't ask for them to sell it for $50,000 less. So these are the things that we're going to rely on you. We are willing to run as many estimates on properties as needed. We will give you a full detailed analysis of what everything is going to look like, including the payment and the closing cost structure for each house that you look on. So if it's the situation to where there's 10 houses that you want to go look at in a weekend, we're prepared to do 10 estimates for you, because we feel the best thing for you to do is have the full information when you do come up to a house, and that includes what that payment looks like or what the down payment may look like on that house.
So maybe talk about then the actual process.
Sure.
That it goes
so we have the pre-approval, and then you find the house. Once you find a house, you're going to execute a contract. That contract is going to be executed between the realtors on both sides. Once we have a fully established purchase and sale contract, then we enter into the loan portion of our side. That begins the rock rolling down the hill. The first thing you're going to have to determine is the interest rate. Should we lock in the interest rate right now? Should we wait and lock in the interest rate depending on the market? I always tell people right now, my personal opinion, the market is at the lowest that it's been in a while. Most financial analysts are determining by the end of 2000 or beginning of 2015 that we're going to start seeing interest rate rises again. So, waiting for that 0.1% to go down in interest rate may not benefit you. You may lose a little bit on the other side. Locking the interest rate doesn't slow down the rest of the process. When we get the purchase and sale agreement, we're going to do the formal verifications of your employment. If you are a salaried or hourly employee, we're going to verify with your employer that you actually are employed with them. Just because you provide us a pay stub doesn't mean that you haven't left your job and are hoping that we don't catch that. So we're going to verify the employment. We're going to verify information on your assets. We're going to do an appraisal on the property after you have a home inspection. The home inspection is very key on your side to make sure that the home is a worthy enough house to proceed on. So once that home inspection, which we don't require a copy of, once that home inspection is finished and the buyer establishes that that property is good to go, we're going to order an appraisal on that property. An appraisal is a certification of value to the lender that our collateral will meet it to the sales price. I always tell people the appraisals are typically for us. We just need to know that the house is at least worth what they're selling it for. A lot of times you're going to have houses, they're going to have a little bit more value from a marketability perspective, and that's where your expertise will come in and say, yes, this house may appraise right at sales price, but here's 2 or 3 comps that are $10,000 more. You're getting a good deal.
So what's a reasonable amount of time for that process?
Typically we're looking at a minimum of 30 days for certain types of loan products like conventional and VA, even FHA. But when you start going to other products like USDA, typically we're asking for 60 days on USDA right now based on a turn time. I would say what we request, a comfortable amount of time is 45 days. There are a lot of things that could come up with the process, and especially the inspection side of things. Let's say it takes you, 5 days to get an inspector out there, and then now you got to negotiate a couple things on the inspections, and then, or maybe there's something that has to be fixed and replaced before we do our appraisal. We can lose 2 weeks to 2.5 weeks on an inspection process real easy. And if we're not able to order the appraisal until that inspection side thing is finished, that really puts a constraint, because we don't own the appraisers. They are not entities of HomeStreet Bank. The appraisers are independent contractors who work on their own and are subject to their own time constraints and rules on their side of things. So you might get an appraiser, which basically we have to order through a round-robin system so that we're not deemed as coercing appraisers into doing more work, or, hey, we give you a lot of business, so come in at value type situations. So that round-robin appraiser, he may be a week out, and we don't know that at the time that he accepts the appraisal. So we have to make sure that we allot at least 7 to 10 days for the appraisal.
Okay. So what's the difference between a lender like HomeStreet Bank and say a mortgage broker?
Well, okay, so we are what I consider a direct lender. Basically, HomeStreet Bank is a entity that is going to originate and service the loan once it's done. The servicing aspect is important at the very end, because what happens is that you're going to have a loan with a company, and there's going to be the payment process and who's going to handle my loan and who do I ask my questions to. HomeStreet does that 100%. We do everything 100% local. As I mentioned, we are a local-based bank. We do everything. We process our loan locally, we fund our loan locally, we underwrite our loan locally. So anybody who touches the loan within this company lives and breathes in this area and is vested in our success and your success, because if we don't close loans, we don't stay in business. So, we are truly here for you from the start to the end. My team is your customer service agents after the loan closes. We don't ever want anybody calling an 800 number, even though our 800 number will get you to somebody in Seattle versus somebody on the East Coast or somebody in a foreign country, which we're starting to hear more and more of. So, that local service, that local aspect, and that capability to pick up a phone and talk to a human with a question is what we think is the powers that gives us the capability to be the #1 lender in this community.
So I always tell anybody who's out there shopping and looking for, for a home loan, to talk to multiple lenders. It's like shopping for anything else. But the bottom line is who can give you the best deal, and more importantly, the best customer service. That's one of my biggest complaints that I get back from people where I sent them to lenders is, they maybe didn't get called back, or they didn't get what their expectations were. How does HomeStreet Bank feel that?
Well, Hera, I always tell people too, in regards to people out there that are looking and shopping for the lowest rates. I will sit here and I'll tell it straight to you, we're not the lowest rate lender on any given day of the month. Any lender can beat any lender within this marketplace. And if you're really shopping for the lowest rate possible, I guarantee there's an internet lender somewhere in Texas or Florida that's going to throw this rate at you and this fee at you, and it's going to dazzle you, and you're going to go, oh my God, that's the greatest thing. And then once you start dealing with them from a customer service basis, you're going to realize, okay, there's a reason why I'm getting this, because I'm paying for the expertise. Basically, aka the lack of expertise within the process. I can't tell you how many people that I've had that have called me up and said, hey, we initially talked to you, we found somebody, we thought 1/8% might be a good thing to save for a rate, and then realized that process has been horribly wrong. We're 2 weeks from closing, can you save us? And unfortunately, with time constraints nowadays, depending on the type of loan product, sometimes we can and sometimes we can't. So I always tell people, if you're shopping for the lowest interest rate out there, that's going to be a challenge. What you need to look at is what is the best overall package of service within the process. We like to think that we're the lowest in the market from a rate and fee perspective, but we're not going to be every single time. But we are going to give you the service level that you're going to need.
Okay. So maybe just in closing, explain to us what a good faith estimate is, or the difference between a good faith estimate and just a closing estimate they might get up front.
Sure. Well, there's a couple estimates that we provide initially for a borrower. We're going to provide you what's called a pre-qual cost analysis form. That's our version of an upfront estimate. The federal government changed some requirements as of January 2010 in how good faith estimates are derived. And in my personal opinion, the true good faith estimate form is actually not a very descriptive form of regards to what the initial portion of things is for a borrower who's shopping. So you're going to look at our pre-qual estimate. It's going to have everything broken out, rate, fees, all that other stuff. You're going to see everything line item. But a formal good faith estimate can't be consummated until you've officially established yourself into a property. But that good faith estimate is something that is going to be generated on the same form that all lenders have. It's going to have your interest rate. It's going to have some of the costs associated with it. It's not going to give you some specifics like the down payment, cash close. It's not going to tell you if the seller's paying any closing costs. But it is a good moniker in regards to comparing other lenders potentially within the process. Associated with the good faith estimate is the truth in lending statement. The truth in lending statement is going to have your APR. It's going to basically be your loan as a cost over 30 years. The APR, a lot of people use that to take a look at where different lenders stand, because you might have two companies with the same interest rate, but one has a higher APR because they have more fees. So that's where you're going to kind of see some compare and contrasting within the process. But again, we will provide everybody upfront numbers. You're going to see everything fully detailed, fully line item, and everything will be fully explained of what each individual fees are.
Like I said before, it's only smart to shop around, but where you start is probably the most important thing, because that's where you're going to get information like we get here today. So go ahead and give Harley a call. His number will be posted underneath theirs, and we'll get you into a place. All right? Thank you, Harley.
Thank you, Neil.
All right.